Oh, welcome. Today, Lauren and Christine and I are going to be looking at sun transits 40 and 64. So we'll be exploring around, seeing what we can learn and what we can play with over the next two periods of 5.5 days. But first, we're going to backtrack a little bit here and see what happened during 29 and 59. And so like relative to what was coming up. And I was just thinking, like during the period that was 29, I had such an immediate need to be present with what I was doing and not get interfered with. It was quite amazing. It's like I want, and this is what I want to do, and I don't want to do other stuff, and don't anybody bother me. And it was like I can feel that way in general, but this was like really, really strong. It's like um and sort of almost like I wish I could be that way all the time, but I'd probably tick everybody off.
Lois, do you think that it had something like this intense concentration, knowing you're flowing through the dark? Like you would have this heightened sensation of, I want to use, don't distract me. I need all my senses in this.
That's an interesting way to look at it, because it's like because it didn't take a lot to be like me going, "Oh, don't do that," so interfering with my senses, that actually makes some sense to me, because hmm, now I'm going to have to think about, contemplating on that.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting, Lois. Like so it is a 29 is a sacral gate. It is about response, right? And you were having this response to be doing the thing, right? Having the experience, which gate 29 is. And you carry gate 29 in your design, right? And so I can imagine, and it's in your Mercury, so I can imagine there would be this extra push and this energy of like, no, this is the thing I need to do and the way I need to do it because now is the moment, right? And so but yeah, I'm not as sure I can tie in exactly what Lauren was saying, but I think she's right.
Well, I mean, it's just one thing, but that focus, I mean, Lois, I'm like that all the time. So just ask anyone that interrupts me because I'm so in my head. Um, but it's because I'm calling in all my senses to put it towards that. And I'm actually there. Like I'm almost like in a third space.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you think about that?
Was that sense of like being really present with what was happening. And so that you're describing really clearly there. So
Yeah, it's saying yes to the experience, right? And I think you were just feeling it really intensely, which is a really cool, point for you in particular, but I suspect something everybody can really kind of get a sense of.
yeah. And I guess then it's in that balancing the saying yes. And there's also a bunch of what do I say no to? And
Yeah.
and have to have strong boundaries about that. Yeah.
Which you were exercising when people were bothering you while you were trying to do your thing.
Much more than I would under normal
Yeah.
circumstances. Yeah. The boundaries tend to be more fluid. That's
Yeah. But that's commitment, right? Which
yeah.
is all about that gate and that time.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
Well, I'm going to take us right into gate 59 because I have felt this one pretty profoundly. I love the question from the I Ching about how can you be less rigid, and that's kind of my theme song every day that I have to sing for myself because I am, I get fixed and I'm like, I'm going to do this and don't anyone get in my way, and you get in my way, you're going to get your head bit off. And so I have felt that like to some real edges, like because I feel like that's what happens in the gate. Like we feel all the way out to the very edges of it. And then I felt myself like step away from situations and all of a sudden go, oh, it could be this way or this way or this way. It doesn't have to be just the way I was doing it. Isn't that shocking?
But it's like you said, like about going out to the edges of the transit. It's like in the like that recognition, Lord, that yeah, this is all going on for me, and I actually have no control over anything. So I need to let go. Partly is what I was hearing in the end from you. It's like, yes, I'm feeling all of this really strongly, and
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to go all the way out and then come in. Um, I feel, because this is leading up to the full moon and the eclipse, I think this particular gate this year is amplified in some very profound ways. If I would say, what is the felt sensation? I have felt squeeze, like, ooh, like, and I already can see gate 40 on the other side, like, oh, it's the golden brick road over there, and everything's gonna lighten up, because it is. But it makes me think about this cycle of moving through the gates. And I know, Christine, there's certain body parts that are called in, but from my experience, not clocking those, I feel it's this ebb and flow of feeling pressured, and then pressure comes off, and pressured again, and that's what growth feels like.
Well, I mean, this 59 is the gate of sexuality, right? It is strongly tied to birthing and birthing new ideas and creativity and relationality, right? And so, when you say like this pressure that's coming and going, I just think about the birth process, right?
Sure.
I mean, it's 100% what's going on there. And yeah, I mean, it is also highly relational. And so there is this energy to connect. And if you are in your own process, and if you are, trying to get something done or trying to do something, there is, again, this is also a sacral gate. It's in response, and it's in response in this relational way, right? And so anybody that's in your aura or near your aura has an heightened, inclination to want, to need to be responded to in this energy time frame, right? And so that, I guess, could also feel like, I should do this. I need to be in contact with this person, whatever. Like, I feel like there could be a lot of this kind of not self, like shoulds and have tos and whatnot that show up in a way that also could feel pressure to respond to things that you might not really want to.
Sure. And demand, just demands.
Yeah, exactly.
Demands on a time from folks that aren't normally demanding. Um, but here we are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's interesting. I too I've been trying to get back to tracking more of this stuff. I've fallen away from it, but I definitely noticed in gate 29, I literally started making earrings that said yes, which I didn't even track until, like, I don't know, I was in gate 59. And but also I also noticed this real uptick in my own creative, urge again, which is usually
Mm.
on full tilt, but this summer it's been pretty quiet. But when 59, the sun stepped into 59, I was just like, ooh, I have some new ideas. All of a sudden, I was like, ooh, I have some new ideas. So I felt the creative aspect of this more, and maybe as a pressure, but not, it was felt like a good pressure. Ooh, like I need to get into the studio and see if I can get some of these ideas done. So,
Cool.
yeah.
yeah, it's cool. It was just it's sort of interesting in that what we're trying to create. In 59, I was feeling more sense of like possibility because I thought back to some of the things I said last time about sort of and what I'm anticipating and sort of bemoaning the fact lack of depth and things in relationship. And sort of stepping back and watching how I was being and even having an opportunity to talk about um, like with other practitioners about how, meeting people where they are and like sort of holding them capable and going like, well, if I do that, does something shift over here? And during this period, it did feel like it was shifting. It's almost like if I was being more open-hearted and holding them capable, that things went differently. And so thought that was kind of interesting. Like I was going to hold the space for them. Maybe they'd step into it.
Mm.
So,
I I'm already feeling gate 40 already and looking ahead and the glimpses I'm getting first is this yearning to release this build up tension that's there. But like seeing in small ways already, like places I can release it. Like that doesn't have to feel like that. I'm gonna address that different or you know, flipping my schedule or something along that way of being opening things up intentionally.
yeah. So, I'm just curious because I'm having a similar thing. Is wondering like, how does that? It feels really liberating to me. Does that? Do you have that sense of that as well?
Oh yeah, yeah.
My lights are going nuts right at the moment. So,
Well,
yeah,
you know, I think it's important to share with everyone. We're at the day before the eclipse, and we're meant to have power surges, and it physically, you know, in our bodies. But there we are, Lois. Isn't that perfect? I love that effect that you brought in.
because everything's going like
It's like
this.
disco Lois.
I had something interesting happen related to this 40th transit is like looking at the idea of energy, the energy and force and what's the balance that you find in that. And I went for tea with a friend and we're sitting out on the porch of this old house, the tea house. And I was about to pour some more tea into my cup when suddenly this little pine cone went plop right into my cup. And we looked up and there's no tree up there. So we're like, what the heck happened? Anyway, my friend went and she plugged this all into AI and sort of looked at the symbolism of the pine cone and the symbolism of the cup. And AI came back with two thoughts about how, like, what this meant for me. And one was could be something unexpected is ready to drop into your awareness. Stay receptive. There may be more potential in this moment or conversation than you realize. And the other one was perhaps you don't have to go searching for the next seed. Sit in the sunshine, share meaningful conversation, and allow it to arrive. And I thought it's like in this space of like, how are we using our energy, not forcing and pushing? Wasn't that a weird little experience?
Yeah, that's really fun, Lois. I love that. It's interesting because gate 40 it's a will center gate. It's a heart center gate, right? And it is we call it the little will. And so, so much of modern life really is run on our will, right? We are pushing all the time with this willful energy. And so it is a nice reminder. That little story is a nice reminder, right? This is the channel of community. It's the channel, it's building things together, making sure that people are well resourced and all of that. And it is true, like, you know, seeds grow pretty much on their own, given the right environment, right? Like, we don't really have to work at stuff quite so hard. And gate 40 is a gate of work, right? And it is, people that carry this gate often do overwork. They work too hard trying to prove themselves to others in order to get love and attention and resources. So it's interesting that all of that showed up, and I agree, it is a very gate 40 sort of energy.
Experience, yeah. And right on cue, right,
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You look very thoughtful, Lauren.
I am, and I'm taking in all this light coming in from all these places too. And I was like, I feel like we have our own light show going on. Well, I was thinking about the Gemmo too that supports us during this period. And last year I had thought it was oak, and the reason that I thought of oak was exactly what Christine said. It's about the will. And one of the things that happens that signals a need for oak is we lose our ability to get up and do it. Like you could see the thing, but there that fire that needs to be ignited. If we're looking at neurotransmitters, we would say dopamine, that would get you out of the chair to get it to happen. This is a very good use of oak in a microdose. And that would be true if it was your will. If it was fear that was keeping you from getting out of that chair, and I think those that experience that know, then I think Black Poplar might be more resourceful at that time and to clear that, because the question coming from I Ching is, if nothing could bind you, where would you go? Like, so how are you releasing this and releasing obstacles and not letting yourself get all tied up? And there's nothing that ties us up more than fear.
Yeah, yeah. It does me think too about because I was reading Richard Rudd on this particular transit, and somewhere in there he started talking about choiceless awareness, which is a Krishnamurti practice. And so I went and looked it up online and to listen through and did one of the meditations, and I was amazed at how this letting go of whatever came up was so possible in this particular meditation, because it really just focuses on like the natural breath for a period of time. And then once you sort of get really relaxed, it's just as every thought or thing floats up, is you just like totally let it go by not labeling it. And I was like, because like, so things that are uncomfortable come up, and it just in this process, it was just like they evaporated as they were popping up. So I think that might be a contributing practice to add to that in terms of dealing with all the things that are coming up right now, another way to deal with it.
Yeah, let's make sure we link that, Christine, in the
Yeah.
note. That would be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too because gate 40 is one of those kind of special gates in the mandala because the polarity gate is gate 37, which also happens to be the gate that completes the channel of community, right? So there's only three places in the mandala where the gate polarity is a channel, it creates a channel. And so what that means is that, from the 28th to the 2nd of September, the whole planet is going to have this channel of community on in their design. That means their heart center is going to be defined and their emotional center is going to be defined. And most people don't have their heart center defined regularly. And tying into what you were saying, Lois, like up until very recently, I've always thought like having a defined heart, because I have a defined heart, would be really great, right? Because you have this will, this constant energy, this life force to, make things happen and to do things in the world. But I think what I've been noticing is that when it's on in people from transit or, from being with other people, it is actually doesn't appear to feel as great as I think it should. And so I wonder if in this time period, especially a meditation like this might actually be really helpful, because I suspect there's going to be a lot of stuff coming up around worth and value, possibly your own worth and value, especially in this space. And it may not feel great. Yeah, and there may just be this will to want to make things happen that may not really need to happen, right? Because again, you'll have this energy on. And so this ability to slow down a bit and look. And again, it also makes me think about the Black Poplar maybe a bit more than the oak too, because I suspect it is, this isn't, the heart isn't a fear center. It isn't fears necessarily, but this piece about worthiness, I think, is a big fear for a lot of people. And so that is where I would think Black Poplar might be a really excellent space, or excellent support during this particular transit.
What do do you see that's different, like in how people show up? Because you said it isn't as great as I thought it would be. So I'm curious what you observe.
Yeah, I think maybe Lauren could speak to this a little bit too, but I've just noticed, and it's not just with this heart center, I just in general, I was talking to somebody the other day, they have their identity center has been on in the transit for quite some time. It pushes, I think it pushes. I think that's the energy. I think it pushes in ways that we're uncomfortable with. It is, that's what it's supposed to do. We are designed to be learning in these open, undefined centers, right? And so when they are turned on, these are our learning opportunities, right? This is when we get to feel that energy in some, consistent way. And when we feel those things, we start to, see these aspects of ourselves that are always there. They're just not as apparent to us. And I think it can feel pushing, right? I think it can feel confronting. I think it can feel scary, right? Like, because it isn't, our normal self, right? It is this energy coming in, but it isn't an outside energy. It's just turning on this energy that, that exists within us that we just aren't as privy to all the time, I think. And so, I don't know. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Well, I mean, it's coming from the question coming from somebody whose most of their centers are open, it's
Yeah.
like
So,
very curious.
so what do you think?
Yeah, yeah. Well, because there have been times where it almost feels like there's an energy that isn't mine and it's showing up and I don't know quite what to do with it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
And so
I mean,
then having to have beginner's mind around it.
yeah, having just the opposite situation, Lois, where I'm all defined except the one center in my heart. The times when it's been defined have been really challenging for me. And, I would say that's where I breathe. And it's as if someone, held that space, because when you're as defined as I am, you've got everything going on inside, and you need like you let off steam with a pressure cooker, right? That's the place. And so having that defined for me in a very defined design, it's like too much. It, yeah.
And I
Where's the
and
ball
I
for the pressure cooker?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and I think that is probably what it feels like for everybody else as well. It's just that most people have more open spaces when
Mm.
something else is defined, right? And that's, for you that isn't true. So, yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think gate 40 is also a love gate. Like there are several, I think there's like 8 or 10 different gates in the chart that are very specific about love. And this is what they call a mundane love gate. It is about um, seeking love and needing love in relationship and getting it through work. And this is something I would also want for people to track during this transit. This overworking, this working to prove yourself, working, to make sure that you get love and loyalty and belonging. That is a really tricky piece of this energy. And so I would just be tracking for it a little bit to see if that's showing up for you because it definitely could.
So healthy boundaries would be
Yes.
really important on this one.
Hmm. Yeah.
Paying attention to yourself, looking after yourself.
Hmm. Yeah. And rest. Like this is a place like the will center, the heart center needs rest. It is a motor, but it isn't a consistent, it's not like a sacral motor. It's a pulsing motor and it needs rest. It can push through, but it needs to also take time off. Which we mostly don't in the modern world, right? So maybe being really intentional in this space of like, I am going to give myself some time off might be really useful.
Well, and I think that's super important coming after this eclipse season, and as that, because everyone does need rest. I belong to a small shamanic women's group, and the since the new moon, the first eclipse, and into this one, everyone's basically crawling into the space together and just kind of like um and so for the full moon on Friday, rather than having their typical celebration of the full moon, they're just all going to lay in. We're going to do a sound bath, right? Because that's what you need, is just release that tension and all that we've been holding.
And actually relax.
Yeah. Let's talk about gate 64 because I'm kind of excited about it.
Okay. What's exciting?
Well, I love that. First of all, I love this movement in the gene keys of going from confusion to imagination. This is such a beautiful example. I think we all have experiences that we can say, this was really messy and I couldn't find my way in it. And then all of a sudden, this brilliant idea came in. And when I could relax, right, and just be with it. This is a gate I have. So I particularly enjoy it. It will probably not be enjoyable when I'm in it, but I don't know. We'll find out. But I love this ability because we all have been immersed in this period of confusion. And I'm excited to see what will bubble up.
I had like an experience related to this in terms of getting confused, and I hadn't realized that that's something that happens to me when I get caught in a structural situation, and where then it's like my thinking goes fuzzy around what can I possibly do. And I was working through a particular issue, and there was like this schedule in front of me, and my husband was talking to me about it as we were going. All of a sudden, he took my iPad and he turned it around so I couldn't see the schedule anymore. And I'm like, and then there's this moment of, oh, I can see what could happen, because I was no longer trapped in that particular way of thinking. Then the possibilities started showing up. And I just felt like then there was some freedom about what could I propose here, and because they just went from really, really feeling tight and what am I going to do to, oh, yeah, no big problem.
Yeah, that's super aligned with the energy, actually. The gate 64, it's in our head. It is the final, hexagram. There's only 64 of them, and it is the final one. And it is called confusion, and it really is here for us to understand that almost everything starts with confusion, right? Like that is part of the process, right? These energies are either we're coming up with ideas and thoughts and inspirations in our head, or they're coming in from the outside, and all of it is confusing at first, right? And that is just the nature of life. But the other aspect of your story that was interesting to me is that this energy can get caught up in trying to figure things out, right? It is wanting to figure out experiences. And just like you said, like that trying energy can catch us up in these like whirlpools of just around and around and around, and we just don't, until something happens to disrupt the cycle for whatever reason, like your husband is like, just don't look at it, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, oh, I'm having this realization, right? Which is the other aspect, the other half of this channel, realization. So it is very interesting to me that you gave us a great visual, quite frankly, of this energy, and also really important for people to recognize during this time. There probably will be confusion, which is hard to imagine more confusion than already exists on the planet, but it will probably show up even more prominently. And the lesson in all of it is for us to sit with the confusion and understand that that is a natural part of things.
There's both like an individual and a collective aspect to this one, isn't there? I mean, because there's like, yes, me, I personally felt confused. And at the same time, there seems to be collective confusion in general about a lot of things.
Yeah, well, this is a collective energy, technically. So, yes. And when you have it, it is all about you. So, you know,
All
both
about
things are
me.
true. Yeah.
I I love that you gave that example, Lois, because now I'm realizing I actually watched this in play this morning. I have two farming interns, and today we were tasked with building a manifold for irrigation. And so a manifold would have all these different levers, and there's lots of moving parts and pieces. And so Sebastian, my son, was teaching them how they would go about designing it and building it. So he started out with a piece of paper and had them draw the manifold that they need to build, and they were just stuck. I mean, so alternatively, he took all the pieces loose and put them on the table and said, can you do something with these? And right away and the play came in too, which was really a big piece because suddenly I heard them laughing and things lightened up. It wasn't like a math problem anymore. It was real, and their creativity and imagination flowed.
Yeah, I think that's really useful. Anytime we notice ourselves trying to figure things out, the trying, right? The trying. And this is, it reminds me of like when I was in high school and I actually acted like I was studying for tests, right? Like I realized at some point is like studying too much is not helping me, right? Like I should just go to bed or I should just go read a book or something, right? The trying energy is not helpful in general. And this energy wants to do that, right? And so paying attention during this transit of that space of like working too hard at something, it's probably not going to pay off. So just give yourself a break.
But you point to it's like there's a feeling like, and it's like this trying and pushing um, and I think people run away from the feeling as well. Like they go and do something to make themselves feel more at ease. And then that we're actually staying with it, the energy will probably move faster on its own. Because if we keep pushing, well, usually what we do is just push it down into ourselves, and then it just comes back. So letting it actually move would be very useful.
Mm, mm. I always find walking away for a little bit helps me, like just doing something different with my hands.
Mhm.
Um, and and then usually while I'm doing whatever I'm doing with my hands, the creativity then starts flowing.
Moving.
Yeah. Yeah. So Lilac is the Gemmo that I think could be really useful here. And it is a lovely central nervous system tonic. So it's improving the functionality of the central nervous system. But in its work, it's in its work to improve the functionality, there is a calmness that comes in, and that's what we're all talking about here, is relaxing around it a little bit so that the flow of creativity can come through, or the flow of imagination. And also one of the things that I've seen with Lilac is it gets the self-doubt and self-incrimination out. It just cleans it up. I think it's a very good energetic cleaner. If you've been around, let's say, a mother-in-law that maybe fills your head with, thoughts about yourself where you're doubting, or a supervisor or something like that, and you just need to get that out of the way. I think it's a very helpful energetic clear. Maybe we should put it in a spritzer too.
Yeah, because it's interesting. It's like that, it's like you said, mother-in-law thing, but there's all of the people in our lives that reinforce the conditioning.
Yeah,
right?
that's it.
And that's a really, really strong force.
Yeah.
And so to be able to go, no, this is my creativity and my imagination, and I don't just have to keep doing what everybody else is doing. Let's do something new.
Yeah, and this energy, this channel is really trying to make sense of past experiences. And I do think that people that carry this energy can get caught up in trying to figure out their, their role in bad
100%.
experiences, right? Right? Like it can be very
100%.
ruminating, right? And I
Yeah.
think that that's, I don't know if Lilac touches on like this idea
Yeah.
of rumination, but this is definitely contained in this energy in a way that, again, we might notice, even if we don't normally carry this energy, we might notice during this transit. And so watching for looking back in the past and seeing where you failed and how you didn't do things correctly and how you hurt people, like that is probably not super useful in this time period. So take some lilac.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound very pleasant either.
No, I mean, it's not to say that we shouldn't, obviously examine some of those things, but it is also not true that we should not beat ourselves up over things that, A, we can't change, and B, is not actually helping us do better work in the future. So,
Yeah, well, I think that you delineating between, are you doing something with this particular memory or feeling to help, move it through your system, or are you just sort of spinning it? There's a big difference there. Yeah. So, wow, there we go. Thank you for being with us. We hope we'll see you next time.